Alright everyone, the most exciting event in One Piece history is about to kick off, and I feel like with everything that's been set up with God Valley, it's set to top Marineford. It may not top Marineford in terms of just sheer character drama, because Marineford, we of course had this central emotional conflict of Luffy trying to save Ace, and nothing can really match that with God Valley, because our main character is just not there. But Rox has turned out to be a fairly emotionally compelling figure himself, and it does seem like God Valley is set to end in tragedy for him, which is going to be one of the saddest things in One Piece to see, just seeing the start of his story, and the hope and the ambition that he rose up with, and then it all coming to a close with him basically going out, just trying to save his wife and child. Note, Rox's fate is still a bit of a mystery, so it's not that close-ended. There might be some light of hope for him, but at the end of the day, we know that this is essentially where his legend comes to a close, at least for the next 38 years or so. So God Valley is set to be a bit of a tragedy, similar to Marineford. But in terms of sheer hype, the difference between God Valley and Marineford is that the roster of characters here is way stronger. The star of Marineford was essentially 80-year-old Whitebeard on life support, whereas in God Valley, young Whitebeard, who is almost at his prime, is not even one of the most important characters in this showdown. Consider that last chapter Oda established that all the strongest warriors on the ocean are here at God Valley, and that should give you some perspective, because never before in One Piece have all the strongest fighters in the world converged into one battle. Again, Marineford was just one Yonko crew and the Marines, whereas God Valley is literally everybody, and the level of this conflict is so high that the Admirals and Sengoku and Kong don't even make the cut. Remember, all the strongest warriors on the ocean are here, which means that if you're not here, you're not strong enough to make the cut. No Admirals, no Bum Goku, this is just the heavyweights. Roger, Garp, Rox, I bet Harold is gonna be here soon. Figarland Garling is gonna get to show what he's got. Yeah, Whitebeard, Shiki, all these big names. This is just the most insane setup Oda's ever done, and I love that he did just a single chapter devoted to basically giving everyone their own introduction moment. This really sets the stage of how insane the whole scope of this battle is. I like that we got a rundown of the Gods Knights, and it's interesting that it sounds like Gunko is just independently a very strong character among the Gods Knights, maybe even the second strongest, it's implied, after Figarland Garling. And I say independently as a character because we know, of course, that she can be possessed by Imu, but that's its own whole separate discussion. It does seem like Gunko, just as an individual, is maybe the second best Gods Knight after Garling, which makes a lot of sense considering the ridiculous display that she just showed us in Elbaf, where she basically low-diffed all of the mid-tier Straw Hats. The designs of the Gods Knights are phenomenal, particularly the one who looked a lot like Killingham. So I imagine here we'll get to see some of the predecessors of the Gods Knights of today. I imagine the Gods Knights of today will basically be a nice mix of basically the children of the family lines that we'll first see at God Valley, and then even some veterans of God Valley who have survived till today, such as Sommers. I wouldn't be surprised if the strongest fighters from God Valley among the Gods Knights are the ones that we will still see in the modern day. So for example, obviously Garling, although he just got promoted, is still around in the modern day. Sommers, and then Gunko, although she has immortality going for her, so she's a bit of an exception. And beyond them, I wonder if we get maybe a couple other remnants of the original God Valley veterans in the current roster of Gods Knights, just so that we have some points of comparison for the current day battles that the Straughts are going to get into. But first, if you want to get One Piece's beautiful islands for your walls, you can get any 2 island posters and get another 2 free and free shipping on our brand new site, OneDreamStudio.com. And this month, we're also doing a huge giveaway. If you win, you can get the complete Island Posters collection for free. All you have to do is head over to the link below and just give us some feedback, and you will have a chance to win the complete Island Posters collection for free. The giveaway ends on September 16th, so sign up now. The winner will be drawn on stream. And we know how much you all enjoyed the island posters, but we've got something even bigger for you around the corner. What we've got next for you all is something you're not going to find anywhere else. Stay tuned. So I'm really excited to see the Gods Knights in action, but more than that, I'm excited to see the Rox Pirates in action, because we've been getting to see them, do their thing as just a gang, stealing from people, messing with each other, all of that, but in terms of actual battle, this is the era where all the legends were close to their primes, right? This is the era that we really want to see what they can do. We saw old Whitebeard at Marineford. I want to see him right now when he can still use Conqueror's Haki and everything like that. Not just in clashes either. I would love to see a little bit more. The fact that we got that whole extended Rox versus Harold sequence gives me hope that God Valley will showcase a little bit more than just one-off clashes for a lot of these characters. I'm not saying full extended fights, but maybe a little bit closer to like Marco Kizaru at Marineford. Just a few panels, that's all we're really asking for. And then of of course, right next to Whitebeard, we also got to see Shiki. Shiki is another character that I really, really want to see fight in his prime, because according to the Ace novels, alongside Roger and Whitebeard, Shiki was one of the big three pirates that ruled the New World after Rox's era. So Shiki should be extremely strong as well. I also like that we got to see a lot of the motivations of the individual Rox pirates heading into the battle, and it's all true to the character that we've come to expect from them. Whitebeard talking about saving a friend, but he also would be cool with her falling in love with him. Big Mom not being interested in Shaki, she's just interested in the fruits. Kaido's interested in the fruits because he wants to get stronger. Captain John, of course, his angle is that he thinks that he can acquire a lot of treasure, as he is famous for, and then that will make Shaki fall for him. And then Shiki and Silver Axe are both going to be going directly after Shaki, which I think is very interesting because we speculated in past videos that Rayleigh would be fighting Shiki and that Gaban would be fighting Silver Axe, and that lines up with the motivations that were just expressed in this chapter. My second favorite moment of this chapter was the Roger pirates' arrival, because Roger and his crew made for a nice moment of levity and classic Oda humor heading into this really huge important conflict. Roger trying to command his men and all of them just running over him. I know that people have been shitting on Roger a lot over the course of this backstory. I really truly believe that he is going to get his moment that will redeem him by the end of this all. But at the moment, he's just a fucking funny character to watch. He's not the same character as Luffy, but his dynamic with his crew gives similar vibes. It's a different slant on the idea of like a captain and his crew who are very buddy-buddy. They all respect the captain, but they'll also disrespect the captain in certain moments as well. And I just thought the gag of him being run over by all of them was fucking hilarious. But my favorite moment of this chapter was the final page. I know there's a lot of hate towards Garp. A lot of it is warranted. He is, of course, upholding the system that creates this whole cycle of yada yada, but you cannot deny that the man knows how to make an entrance. I think between Hachinosu and God Valley, I think there's no denying that Garp has the knack for making the best entrances out of any character in One Piece. Because to get such a ridiculous roster of absolutely all-star, A-player, top-tier characters in One Piece, one after another, and then to top them all off is just Garp by himself. We got squad after squad after squad, and then to top all of them is Garp rolling up by himself with just some cannonballs in hand and basically being like, what's up? What's up? I'm here, and everyone's looking and shitting their pants. That is a top tier 11 out of 10 entrance. Oda saved Garp for last for a reason. It is just so insanely badass to see the entire Rox Pirates, the entire Gods Knights, the entire Roger Pirates, and then the big kahuna drops in, which is just Garp by himself. I don't even fucking count Bogard because nobody knows what the f that guy does. I love that moment. I'm very hyped for all of these characters. Garp has never really been a character that I've been most hyped to see, but Oda can't just seem to stop hyping up Garp, so now I'm excited to see what he does here as well. Hopefully he doesn't try too hard to save those Celestial Dragons, that's all I'll say. Because finally that brings us to the beginning of the chapter, which is of course the sad part of the chapter, which is seeing a young Teach traumatized by all of these people who want to kill him and hunt him down as a rabbit. I think God Valley is going to make a lot of people a lot more sympathetic to Blackbeard's character, not necessarily excusing everything that he did, but definitely giving him a lot of depth and complexity and making us maybe look at him a different way. But I'm going to save my thoughts for that as Blackbeard's story progresses over the course of God Valley, because I think God Valley is set to give us a lot of perspective on a lot of these major important characters that will matter for the rest of One Piece. So with that, really looking forward to the next chapter for God Valley to begin. Oda wrote the best hype kickoff chapter imaginable. God Valley is blowing my expectations out of the water. So with that, I will talk to you all next week.